$39,700. That's what one $2.5 million retirees paid off Florida House 8 in 2026, before a single plane ticket. A viral video this month told $1 million to $10 million households how much they can spend on travel each year. It skipped this number. I'm Eric. Today I'm going to put the housing math on top of the travel math. $1 million, $2.5 million, $5 million, $10 million, and show you the housing surplus that decides whether the trip actually flies. Meet Linda and Frank, 67 and 65, Central Florida, $2.5 million liquid. The mortgage paid off in 2021. Linda is a composite based on common cases in the AARP 2024 Home and Community Preferences Survey and the Harvard JCHS Housing America's Older Adults 2025 report. They thought they had a $50,000 travel budget. The house took most of it, line by line, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Linda and Frank did everything the brochure said. They paid the house off 4 years before retirement. They have $2.5 million in liquid assets, split across a taxable brokerage, 2 IRAs, and 1 small Roth. Social Security at 67 covers a chunk of the lifestyle. They thought retirement looked like this: $40,000 to $60,000 a year of travel for the next decade, then slow down. The $39,700 you just saw isn't theoretical. Here's where the first half of it came from in 2026. Their property tax bill, even with Florida's senior homestead, landed at $6,200, up from $4,100 5 years ago. Their homeowner's insurance renewal hit $6,800. That's not a typo. The Florida insurance market did what it did, and Linda and Frank weren't grandfathered into anything. Their flood policy on top of that ran another $1,400. Then the AC compressor died in July. $7,500. The roof inspector said the roof has 4 years left, maybe 5. The estimate for the replacement is $28,000 in today's dollars. That amortizes to about $5,600 a year going into a reserve. That's $27,500 already. We haven't touched routine maintenance yet. We haven't touched the long-term care reserve yet. We will, in a few minutes, with the full line-by-line, but the headline is already the headline. Their $50,000 travel line is now closer to $14,000, and they haven't bought a ticket yet. The travel budget on paper is not the travel budget in the bank. The viral video framed the question as, how much can you spend on travel? That is the right question for a $5,000 a month slow-go retiree with a paid-for, low-tax, low-insurance house in a state that hasn't been hit by the insurance reset. For Linda and Frank, that question is downstream of a bigger one. And we are going to answer the bigger one for every tier right now. 3 numbers anchor everything that follows. Number 1. Most retirees have a travel window, not a travel lifetime. The framework that just went viral isn't new. Michael Stein wrote The Prosperous Retirement in the year 2000, and his go-go, slow-go, no-go model has been cited in the retirement planning literature ever since. Go-go is roughly 65 to 75. Slow-go is 75 to 85. The third window, local, family-centered, increasingly defined by healthcare, not airfare. Every retiree hits a slow-go window eventually. The only question is when. Number 2. Spending in retirement doesn't stay flat. It bends. David Blanchett, then at Morningstar, named the U-shape, what planners now call the retirement spending smile. Discretionary spending falls in the middle decade and rises again at the end as healthcare costs take over. Both of those frameworks are about the spender. Neither one is about the house. And that is the gap. Number 3. The house does not bend the same way. It steepens. The Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies Housing America's Older Adults 2025 report, the load-bearing housing data set for the over 65 demographic, found that 34% of older homeowners are cost-burdened, meaning they pay more than 30% of income on housing. 12.4 million older households fall in that bucket. Paid-off houses are in that 34%. Insurance, taxes, maintenance, and modifications keep walking up the stairs. That is the secret hiding underneath the viral travel math. Travel demand falls, house cost does not. Here is the rule the viral video left implicit. The body sets the travel window. The house sets the housing window. They are not the same window. The body gives you about 10 good travel years. That's the go-go. The house, if you don't decide otherwise, gives you a 30-year obligation. Mortgage, no mortgage, doesn't matter. The house still has a 30-year tax line, a 30-year insurance line, a 30-year maintenance line, and a 10 to 15-year capital line for the roof, the HVAC, the windows, the siding. So when a planner, credentialed or not, quotes you a travel bracket like $25,000 to $60,000 a year at $2.5 million, that number assumes the house is already handled. It assumes the property tax isn't climbing. It assumes the insurance market hasn't reset under you. It assumes the roof isn't 4 years from a $28,000 bill. And for a lot of retirees, none of those assumptions hold. So here is the move. You should not budget travel before you budget the house. You budget the house, taxes, insurance, maintenance reserve, modification reserve, long-term care reserve, and what survives is the housing surplus. The housing surplus is what you actually have to spend on the trip. A loophole hides in here, and it is worth naming. Some retirees discover their housing surplus is bigger than they thought, because their state has a senior property tax freeze, or a homestead exemption they never claimed, or a renter's credit equivalent they qualify for as a long-time owner. The NCOA Benefits Checkup tool catches a lot of this. We'll come back to that in the options section. But for most of the people watching this, and the AARP data backs this, the housing surplus is smaller than the planner's bracket assumed. 75% of older Americans want to stay in the home they're in. 55% of the ones who expect to move name property taxes as the reason. The viral video mentioned the gap. It named one sentence, that a $5 million household with high fixed expenses can have less travel flexibility than a $3 million household with pensions covering the basics. Then it moved on. We're going to quantify that exact gap. That's the next chunk. Back to Linda and Frank. We promised the full breakdown of that $39,700. Here it is. Property tax, $6,200. Homeowner's insurance, $6,800. Flood, $1,400. AC compressor, $7,500. Roof reserve on a 5-year amortization, $5,600 a year. Routine maintenance, landscaping, HVAC service, gutters, pressure washing, 2 minor plumbing calls, about $3,200. Long-term care reserve, sized to the Genworth median for assisted living in Florida and parked in a conservative bucket, contributing about $9,000 a year. Total, $39,700. Same number we opened with. Now you can see where every dollar came from. On a $2.5 million portfolio supporting a 4%-ish baseline draw, Social Security plus the portfolio plus a small pension, Linda and Frank have roughly $76,000 of discretionary capacity once the baseline lifestyle is funded. The house just took $39,700 of it. Their housing surplus is $36,300. Their travel surplus is whatever they choose to spend out of that $36,300. And they still have to leave room for grandkids' weddings, a new car eventually, and the dental work no one budgets for. That's the math behind the $14,000 travel line we mentioned in the hook. And here is the move. At $2.5 million with a Florida-style house, the travel bracket is not $25,000 to $60,000. It is closer to $15,000 to $30,000. And most of it should land in the first 5 years. Let me do this tier by tier. 4 tiers. Same housing assumptions for each. A paid-off house in a moderate-cost state. Real 2026 numbers on taxes and insurance. A realistic slow-go-aware maintenance and modification reserve. A long-term care reserve sized to the Genworth median for the region. One important caveat before the brackets. These tier aggregates are modeled from the 4 sources you just saw: Harvard JCHS, AARP, Genworth, HUD. They are starting points for your own math, not personalized recommendations. Your state, your county, your insurance market, your roof, your spouse's health move every line. Tier 1. $1 million liquid. The viral planner said $10,000 to $20,000 on travel during the go-go years. Add the house, property tax, insurance, maintenance, roof reserve, modification reserve, LTC reserve. Even in a moderate-cost state, the house eats $22,000 to $28,000 a year out of a roughly $40,000 total discretionary capacity. Your housing surplus is $12,000 to $18,000. Your travel bracket at $1 million is closer to $7,000 to $15,000, front-loaded into 6 to 8 years. That is not a smaller life. That is a calibrated one. Tier 2, $2.5 million liquid. Linda and Frank's tier. The planner's bracket was $25,000 to $60,000. The house, in a Florida-style insurance market with property tax drift, eats $35,000 to $42,000. Your housing surplus is $30,000 to $40,000. Your travel bracket at $2.5 million with a Florida-style house is realistically $15,000 to $30,000. With a low-tax, low-insurance house in a state with a senior property tax freeze, you can push the upper end of the planner's bracket, $40,000 to $55,000. Same portfolio, different house, different answer. Tier 3, $5 million liquid. This is the tier the viral video named The Gap on. The planner's bracket was $60,000 to $125,000. At $5 million, your travel bracket lives anywhere from $35,000 to $150,000, and the house is the deciding variable, not the portfolio. $5 million plus a paid-off Texas or Tennessee house with a homestead freeze, you are at the top of that range. $5 million plus a Florida coastal house, plus a second home in the mountains, plus an aging-in-place modification plan. You are at the bottom of that range. Here is the quantified version of the sentence the viral video glossed over. A $5 million household with $80,000 of fixed housing cost between 2 properties has roughly $90,000 of true discretionary capacity after the baseline. A $3 million household with a paid-off, low-tax house and a pension covering most of the basics has roughly $110,000. The $3 million household with the right house has more travel flexibility than the $5 million household with the wrong houses. That is not a hypothetical. That is the AARP plus Harvard plus Genworth math. Tier 4. $10 million liquid. The planner said $100,000 to $250,000 plus, contingent on income, tax, family, and estate goals. We agree on the contingency. We just add one variable. At $10 million, the housing decision is where the leverage is, not the travel decision. Your housing surplus probably never binds. Your travel bracket is $100,000 to $300,000, and you should spend it in the go-go window. The trick at $10 million is not to permanentize 2 or 3 go-go houses into a slow-go you do not want. Notice what just happened across all 4 tiers. The portfolio number, $1 million, $2.5 million, $5 million, $10 million, set the ceiling on discretionary capacity. The house set the floor on housing cost. The travel bracket is the difference. That is the housing surplus formula, and it works at every tier. Housing surplus equals total discretionary capacity minus annual housing eats. Annual housing eats is 6 lines, not 3. Property tax, homeowners plus flood insurance, maintenance and capital reserve, roof, HVAC, exterior, plumbing, averaged over the next 10 to 15 years. Slow-go modification reserve, grab bars, a walk-in shower, lever handles, lighting, eventually a stair lift or a single-floor reconfiguration. Long-term care reserve, sized to the Genworth median for your state. And the property's exposure premium, whether you're in a wildfire, hurricane, flood, or convective storm zone that the insurance market is repricing on you in real time. Most retirement spending models don't carry all 6 lines. They carry property tax and maybe insurance, and they call that the housing cost. That undercounts the EAT by 30 to 50% for most older homeowners. That is why the planner's bracket, $25,000 to $60,000 at $2.5 million, felt right to so many viewers, and felt wrong to anyone who actually opened their own escrow statement. Here is the move you should make. Pre-budget the house. Pre-fund the house's next 10 years. Then, quote yourself a travel bracket against what's actually left. That is the housing surplus. That is the number that decides whether the trip flies. One more thing. There is one option in this space that most retirees never seriously consider, and it protects the housing surplus and the travel window at the same time. We will get to it in the options section, and I will tell you exactly when it makes sense and exactly when it does not. 6 options, same 6 for every tier. The right answer depends on the house, the tier, and where you are in the go-go window. Option 1. Stay-and-harden. Refinance is off the table for most paid-off retirees. The move here is to harden the house against the next decade. Roof, HVAC, gutters, windows, modifications, before the slow-go window closes. Fits. Retirees with strong housing surplus and a house in a low-exposure insurance market. Risk. A hardening budget can swallow 2 years of travel and feel invisible. Calendar it. Do not let it sneak. Option 2. Downsize in-county. Sell the larger family home. Buy a smaller, single-floor, low-tax house in the same county. Keeps the network. Keeps the doctors. Drops the EAT. Fits. $1 million to $5 million households whose 6-line housing EATs are over 35% of discretionary capacity. Risk. In 2026, the housing market for the trade-down property may not have a lower price than the trade-up. Run the math both ways. Option 3. Sell and rent test. Most retirees never seriously consider this one, and it is the option we opened a loop on earlier. Sell the house. Park the proceeds in a conservative bucket. Rent for 12 to 24 months in the place you think you want to retire. Then decide. Fits. Any tier with a destination is unfamiliar. The snowbird town, the mountain town, the coastal town. Risk. Capital gains exposure if the home appreciated past the $500,000 exclusion for a married couple. Model it first. Option 4. Snowbird-without-buying. Rent the second location seasonally. Do not buy. Buying a second home permanentizes a go-go pattern into slow-go obligations. Renting for the season keeps the optionality. Fits. $2.5 million and up tiers. Risk. The seasonal rental market in the popular destinations is pricing aggressively. Pre-book and pre-budget. Option 5. Continuing care retirement community deposit. Planned, not panicked. A CCRC entrance fee is a large upfront number that protects against the largest tail risk in this whole framework, long-term care. Worth modeling in the go-go years, not when the crisis already started. Fits. $2.5 million and up tiers without strong family support backstop. Risk. Entrance fee refundability and the CCRC's financial health vary widely. The actuarial structure of the contract matters more than the brochure. Option 6. Aging-in-place modifications, staged. If stay is the answer, the slow-go modification budget, about $15,000 to $40,000 over 5 to 7 years for a typical single family, is the cheapest LTC reserve there is. Grab bars, walk-in shower, lighting, lever handles, no step entry, eventually a single-floor reconfiguration. Fits. Every tier where staying is the plan. Risk. People delay this until after the fall. Do it in the go-go window. The body still wants to climb the ladder. Do it anyway. One more move. Claim every senior property tax relief, homestead exemption, and utility credit you qualify for. The NCOA Benefits Checkup tool surfaces a lot of this. AARP's state-by-state property tax fact sheets catch the rest. Most older homeowners leave money on the table here. Call it a quiet stimulus that nobody is going to mail you. You have to apply. 6 numbers. Before you set a travel budget at any tier, you need to know these 6. 1. Your annual property tax trajectory under your state's senior exemption, or the absence of one. Pull the last 5 years off your county assessor's site. Project 5 forward. 2. Your annual home insurance trajectory, including flood, wind, and fire endorsements. HUD's 2025-2026 data shows 40% of policyholders saw renewal increases over $200 in a single year. Yours could be in that group. Check before you set the bracket. 3. Your realistic annual maintenance reserve. Call it 1 to 2% of the home's current replacement value, averaged over 10 to 15 years. Roof, HVAC, exterior, plumbing, the unglamorous lines. 4. Your long-term care reserve, sized to the Genworth median for your state. $70,800 a year for assisted living, $111,325 for nursing home semi-private. Those are the 2024 national medians. Your state is higher or lower. Look it up. 5. Your slow-go housing modification reserve. $15,000 to $40,000, staged over 5 to 7 years. Grab bars, walk-in shower, lever handles, lighting, single-floor reconfiguration. 6. Your housing surplus. Total discretionary capacity minus all 5 lines above. That is the only number that should ever set your travel bracket, not the planner's chart, your housing surplus. Mistake to avoid. Do not permanentize a go-go house into a slow-go you don't want. The second home, the snowbird condo, the basement ADU for the grandkids. Every one of those is a go-go commitment. Decide which ones you want carrying you at 80 and rent the rest. The PDF link below has the full 6-number worksheet, 1 page per tier, $1 million through $10 million, with the state-by-state property tax and insurance trajectory templates. If you have an adult child trying to read their parents' housing math right now, send them this video. The questions to ask are in the description. We started with one number, $39,700. That's what a paid-off Florida house ate in 1 year before a single plane ticket. The viral travel brackets are real math, but the math assumed the house was already handled. For 34% of older homeowners, the house is not handled. Harvard JCHS counted them. Now you have the formula to handle it. Housing eats first. Surplus is what survives. The travel bracket is what the surplus allows. Pre-budget the house. Then book the trip. Subscribe if this was useful. Drop a comment with your tier. $1 million, $2.5 million, $5 million, $10 million, and the one housing eat that surprised you most. I read every one, and the next episode is built from what you write.